Joining us now from the Daily Hive and the Offside Vertical, Rob Williams. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing well, guys. Just getting caught up on the new Canucks commercial that dropped today. This is seems to be a hit with fans on Twitter.
Yeah, they really nailed it. It looks like and people aren't teasing them about this at all, Rob. It is. It's to their defense. How do you hype up a team that perennially misses the playoffs? Although attaching all the buzzwords, they are lining themselves up for ridicule here a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for the marketing department. I mean, they didn't put that product on the ice last season, so they're doing the best they can, right? But it's funny because it's kind of a similar theme to what they did last year with Unfinished Business, which everyone made fun of, which of course was completely hilarious, especially the way they started the season. It was just like it could not have been. In hindsight, a worse slogan for them. But that was all about Unfinished Business. Was all about we've got Bruce Boudreau now, and this team is different, and we ran out of time last year, and now it's gonna be a great season. Well, now they're making it all about Rick Tocchet this time around, right? So they're using kind of all of Tocchet's buzzwords. So the new commercial, I'm sure everyone will be checking it out today. Has the words flashing across the screen for structure and habits and standard. And in some ways, like, sign me up. Like, yeah, that's what they really need, and hopefully that'll improve their fortunes next season. But yeah, it was all about Boudreau last year, and now everything will be fine with Tocchet this year.
I think we're only a couple of years removed from, wasn't relentless one of their buzzwords a couple of years ago under Travis Green? I think it was relentless. So they've kind of run the gamut on the catchphrases.
They're supporting their coaches, though, guys. At the very least, right? It's an indirect support.
Do you guys remember the year that Torts was there? I remember, like, on the big screen, it was like their pregame montage. It was all about Torts. Like, they really were selling Torts as was really gonna whip this team into shape. And then I think they kind of. I think they pivoted from that mid-season.
They maybe should have pivoted from Torts mid-season, but
and another one, guys. I recall from like the early. I want to say it was like the early 2000s, like post Messier era. Maybe it was Messier era. Was like the slogan was "New Grit." I think that's my all-time fave.
That's a Western starring a bunch of 30-somethings, doesn't it? It's like a bad soap opera. The sale of this team, and I don't mean the sale people are wishing, I mean the selling of this team over the course of the summer is going to be an interesting task beyond just this commercial too. They're going to need something to hold on to. Our poll question today, Rob, is asking, do you really believe that they can move a $4 million plus salary, that they will, that they actually will execute that and move a $4 million plus salary? And you can draw into that whether or not they have to sweeten it, whether they don't. Do you think they do it? Do you think they'll actually pull it off?
Well, they got to move something because they're over the salary cap for next season, as we found out. But I mean, they moved Jason Dickinson, so you can move anything if you attach enough sweeteners to it. Mm-hmm. So can they? Absolutely. Will they? I think they will. I think they have to move one of Besser or Garland. I think that's the obvious one right now, where they have to move one of those contracts. I'm sure they'll try to move Tyler Myers' contract. I think that will be difficult. That might be a trade deadline piece or something along those lines later in the season, perhaps. I think they're going to have to make moves. I do wonder how much last offseason is going to be playing in the back of Patrick Allvin's mind, where he kind of stood pat. He stayed patient, and it kind of blew up in his face. So what does he do this offseason? I think he has to move some guys. Like I say, I think it's probably Besser or Garland. One of those guys is going to be the piece to move. And to me, when you're moving salary right now, like, sell high on guys. Don't just take the guys that you hated their seasons the most, that have zero value or negative value, and just keep trying to move those guys. You're going to have to make some moves where you actually try to win a trade, try to capitalize on a player that has a bit more value around the league.
So they've come through a 12-month cycle where they've tried to move Besser and Garland, and with no luck. And I mean, to the point that they gave Besser's agent the opportunity to shop him, and he still couldn't broker a deal. So I mean, it really does feel like the reality is going to hit home here, that it's going to require a sweetener, that they're going to have to pay to move one of these guys. You talked about Jason Dickinson. They had to attach a second rounder there. They don't have a second rounder as it stands right now. Are you worried that first round pick is in play?
Oh God, they better not. I mean, like, how many first round picks do you have to trade to make the playoffs? Like, that to me, because they've already traded 2 in recent years.
But a third rounder probably doesn't move Besser.
That's exactly my point. Yeah.
Then you hold on to him. You move somebody else. You move Mikheyev. You move money in some other meaningful way from somewhere that someone will take that contract and do that. I know you guys maybe don't believe it. I feel like Besser's due for a bounce back year. We said that last year, but everything started off terribly. Remember in training camp? I remember when Jeff asked in training camp, like, is this the year you score 30? He said yes. We weren't, the Canucks fans weren't, and media were not laughing at that. Like, that was a plausible scenario. He just ended up starting off, completely on the wrong foot. And I think, does he score 30 next season? No. Can he score 25? Perhaps. So be patient on these guys. They're not a Stanley Cup contender. This is not the time to be shipping out draft picks in an effort to squeak into the playoffs. The
downside here, guys, is there's no middle ground here. Like, this team either has guys making under $1 million or $4 million plus. That's the problem here, is that you can't even nickel and dime. You talked about the Dickinson trade. There's no guys like that to give you to. You can't get 2 Dickinsons out the door rather than trade a $4 million player. They don't have that class of player. They just don't.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I would be that's got to be last resort is moving draft picks, especially high draft picks. Like, this team is in no position to be losing, to be weakening their prospect pipeline any further than it's already been weakened.
I do wonder, guys, just using Dickinson as an example, the second rounder that was required, I wonder if it gets to the point where they look at trading back in the first round, still maintaining a first round pick, but could they acquire a second rounder and then maybe use that as the sweetener? Because I don't think third rounders are going to get business done. I'm with you, Rob. I don't want any part of trading another first rounder, but I guess I'd be open to them trading back in the first round if they could gain an asset and then turn around and use that asset perhaps to try to lubricate the trade wheel.
Oh, it sickens me to think that they would use their first round pick, and even trading back. Like, I just hate that idea altogether. That has to be final last resort. Like, I don't know. I'm just looking at their roster. Like, can you move Mikheyev? Can you move
wingers with term?
Beauvillier, I mean, Beauvillier will have 1 year left on his deal. Yeah. There's got to be something that you can do on some of these. Maybe if you've got players with not much term left, like Beauvillier, just with the 1 year left, hold back $1 million in salary or something like that. Like, I'd rather them hold back salary and bite the bullet for 1 year than be biting the bullet for the next decade because they traded back and missed out on a star player because they were in cap trouble.
Before we let you go, did you find this draft lottery was numb for the Canuck fan? Did they finally write off the possibility of getting Connor Bedard, or did they secretly hold in themselves, maybe this is the year?
I think, I think there were some, for sure, people holding out hope. I held out no hope, but I must admit, when that lottery starts and they start flipping the cards, the heart starts pumping. You start going, okay. You start looking at the list, and you're like, okay, this one's got to be Calgary. Okay, good. At least they didn't drop. And then when it comes to the Canucks one, I will admit, the heart was pumping on that one. So especially a low chance of actually winning, but boy, what a big prize. It would have been fun, but the Canucks' first overall draft pick drought continues. We're going on 53 years now.
Unbelievable. Rob, what you got coming up on the Daily Hive?
We're pivoting so much to the Stanley Cup playoffs for our other markets, but we will be looking at it's just around the corner now where we're going to be looking at free agent signings. We'll have to be looking in the bargain bin apparently, but that and also we're going to be taking a look pretty soon at just who's going to be available for the Canucks to draft here, assuming they keep that pick.
Yeah, we're not that far away, are we? Yeah, thanks for doing this as usual, Rob. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.